So, as you can remember, in the last video we discussed about the about JSX, like 5 points regarding JSX, and how to write an component without JSX also. So in this video we are going to discuss about rendering elements, and this JSX and rendering elements topics are quite important before we move into components and props and the next topics about React. So in this part, I'm going to explain like exactly what elements are. Okay, so elements are the smallest building blocks of a React app, and those component we are going to discuss, those are actually made of elements. Okay, so never get confused with that what is a element and what is a component. Okay, so let me quickly create an element in app component. Okay, or let's delete all these. Okay, let's leave the app component as it is. Rather, we are going to create inside this index.js. Okay. So I explained you like how React works, how it gets the div ID, like the div with ID root inside this index.html, and like inject the whole app component inside it. Okay, so we are going to like, if we like inspect in here, we can see that okay, so exactly this part. Okay, let's make it bigger, and this one is the h1 tag inside this div id root. Okay, so what we're going to do, like we'll create another div. Okay, so okay, and let's rename this as element, or just an with id element. Okay, now what happens, this element will not be reloaded here. Okay, this is just an index, like that HTML part is just rendered here, and if we put anything in this div id, this is has nothing to do with React. Whatever will place it will be just an HTML. Okay, we cannot control it here. Okay, so rather what we'll do, we'll create an element inside our index.js where we get that the main div with id root, and we injecting this app inside here. So what will I do, I will copy the same things and just rename everything with a root with element. Okay, so what we did here, let me just, okay, so I created another element with react dom.createRoot. I'm creating another root, and I am getting that element by get element by id with the id element. Remember, we created a div with id element. Okay, so that is stored with element. Then I use the render method. Okay, element dot render with not this. So here I can render an element. Okay, so element dot render will be element. Okay, so this element, suppose element lm, just lm, I have to create that element here first. So let's create an element const lm equal to, suppose h1 tag. No, not h1 tag. Let's distinguish it by a p tag. Okay. So a p tag, and I'm going to write hello rendering. Yeah, that's what I came up with. So I created an LM. This is an element actually with a p tag hello rendering, and I will render that inside this element. Okay. Okay. So let's see. Hello rendering comes up another with inside another div. Okay. So if we see into this, we are having a div id element. Inside that, this p tag is getting rendered. Okay. So unlike browser DOM elements, React elements are plain objects. Okay. So React actually take cares of the DOM while updating the DOM to match the React elements. Okay. Okay. So in here we saw like how we can inject an element inside the DOM. I'm not changing anything in the app component. Okay, I'm changing inside the index.js. I created an element there and I created a new root. So that's why they both of the things are coming up in the web page. Okay. Now let's see. Suppose we will update an element with our time. Okay. So to do that, we got the element by element, and then we'll create a function. Okay. So let's create a function. Function, suppose we are getting the time like in every second. So suppose get current. Okay. So let's have this function, and this no parameters, and it will just like inside this function we'll do like what, we'll just render this element inside here. Okay, everything control X. Let's do this, and what we'll do, we'll create a set interval. Okay, set interval, and we'll get the function name get current, and I will call this every 1000 milliseconds, that is 1 second. Okay, so what I will call this with, I will create an element with a p tag, and suppose I will wrap this inside a div. Okay, let's do that. Div, and inside this, then I will put an s2 tag, and inside that s2, suppose it is remember we can here using JSX, so we just can put an expression here. So suppose new date, and to local, yeah, to local date string, or local, prefer local, okay, to local date string maybe. Okay, no, date string will not help us, so to local time string, because we are checking each second. Okay, cool. So what will this do? This will render this element, and this will call this function every second, and it will render inside that element that hello rendering, and it is the time. It will show the time. So at each second, the DOM will be updated. So React only update this part, not the entire thing. Okay, I'll show you like how that's happening. So if so the time is working here. Okay, on this part. So React only changing this one. I'll show you like inside this. See, this thing is only changing, not everything. Okay, every time the time changes, every time this function is the function not calling itself. Obviously, this function is getting called each second, like every 1000 millisecond. That is 1 second, and it is calling this function again and again, again and again, and the time is changing. So React is changing the DOM. That's how this program is running. Cool, right? Yep. So always keep in mind that React only changes what is absolutely necessary to change in the UI, not the whole thing. Okay. So now we learned that how to create an root element, how to update that, and how React changes the DOM. Okay. Okay. That's it, guys. I will see you in the next video where we will discuss about component and props. Thank you.